Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Eliali in this incarnation. I am here today to talk about the energies of the next week from November 24th until November 30th. So, you are going to notice that we have many aspects that speak of relational dynamics and, of course, their relationship with ourselves because that is what is projected on the outside. So, we are going to go in order, as always, direct with the transits so you can understand. On November 24th, we have the conjunction between Mercury retrograde and Venus in Scorpio in the degree 22 with 45 minutes. So we have a process of understanding here of assimilation of a relational situation. Could be understanding certain patterns that are leading us to establish dynamics that we don't desire to sustain anymore, or understanding what kind of things we really have to nourish. Could be opening up the communication with other person because of a situation that occurred, experiences that we have been transiting from a very vulnerable space, from a space of emotional intimacy, and talking about how each one experimented those situations. For others, could be connecting with what they genuinely desire in terms of relationships or other areas of life. Could be linked with their value, the generation of resources, because that is also Venus, and to assimilate what they require right now to align themselves with that desire of the soul, going to the roots and detecting the choices that create vessel to receive what the soul wants to receive, or detecting also the choices that are being born from attachments or control that are not being coherent with that. Coherent, okay, I expressed that correctly, I think, sorry. Okay, while all of this is happening, Venus in Scorpio is going to reactivate one more time the grand trine of water that we have been seeing along since October till this point. So Venus connects with Jupiter retrograde in Cancer and with Saturn retrograde stationary actually in Pisces. This is an important data that I'm going to expand in a minute. And well, these are trines. Mercury retrograde is still participating, but it's Venus the one that is reactivating this. So in this inner assimilation, we could also recognize what we need to nourish emotionally in us, or in the projects of life that we really want to build. What things cannot participate anymore of our experience because they are pushing us away from our inner peace and the constructions that respond to those desires of the soul. There are definitions in relating relationships. It is redundant. So this grand trine of water could accompany a lot to make those decisions that perhaps are evolutionary, but not that easy, because they are leading us to go through grief, through endings. And when we are listening to ourselves, we can actually feel that the light is sustaining us, because we are the ones that we are deciding to walk connected with that. And beyond what we need to do right now as part of the growth, this means that for some people, they are going to do their inner labor and to transform together with other people or other person. But for others, it is about transforming themselves, establishing a boundary to certain relationships or situations in which they are not giving their value to themselves. So we can expand and make a space to something new. Responsibilities and healthy boundaries are necessary along the whole journey, but in these days, these lessons are going to be intensified because on November 28th, Saturn becomes direct in Pisces in the degree 25 with 9 minutes. So it is already stationary. We are already feeling this. The review ends. The review started on July 13th when Saturn was in the degree 1 of Aries. So this month implied a revision of new directions talking about Aries. And when Saturn returned to Pisces, what do we need to close in order to commit ourselves with that, or to open those new paths? So at this moment, certain projects or experiences could start to move that perhaps were a little bit like stagnant in that area of the natal chart. And we have to make decisions with much responsibility. This means responding to what we know from the inside that deserves the investment of our energy, and to limit what is not. When there is denial to assume certain decisions, experiences that are testing our patience could reach us, or that are apparenting, they apparently are blocking things on the path. Perhaps we are feeling restricted, we could feel frustration, but they are truly the push of life to develop maturity in these aspects with which we are dealing with. So, Saturn in Pisces is very implied with emotional maturity and the use of energy. This means how we can turn ourselves aware of the actions, for example, or the behaviors that we are doing when we are renouncing to our inner voice, like assuming burdens of other people that are not corresponding to us, or forms of thought that are not contributing. And if they are sustained in time, obviously they are going to impact a lot in our emotional level, in the physical level too. So this is it is important to understand that being aware, it is not judging ourselves for how we are operating inwards. It's to learn to observe that and to redirect that energy with compassion for our processes. Because we have the other polarity of Saturn, which is being excessively rigid or exigent with ourselves or with other people. So this is a responsibility that we want to simply to feel better with what we are transiting and with what is surrounding us, whether whatever way it is being manifested, with challenges or without them, because challenges are also part of the experience. So Saturn in Pisces awakens to also let go of ideals disconnected from reality, idealizations, like both in the spiritual path or other experiences, illusions and fantasies that are fitted by conditionings of the ego. For example, thinking that growing spiritually is to not feel pain anymore. And truly, the growth is much more linked with how we are learning to regulate ourselves and to face those situations, how we are perceiving them, if we are seeing them from this duality or from a more unifying aspect, like this is coming to my life because it is teaching me something, even if it's not pleasant. Or believing that continuing to help people that are not taking their responsibility to change is truly helping. So we can say a lot about this. I'm going to continue. November 29th, Mercury becomes direct in Scorpio in the degree 20 with 42 minutes. And, it is important to mention that Mercury moves out of the stationary period. It means that it moves from mathematical degree from December 1st. That is the moment to make the investments, decisions, important conversations. You always have to listen to yourselves. Astrology is not to condition ourselves. It is to listen and to use the information with purpose. But when Mercury awakens, at the moment that awakens, also manifests this effect of retrogradation, problems in communication, and these kind of things. So the most important event of this day is Venus in Scorpio in opposition with Uranus retrograde in Taurus. In some places it's going to be on November 30th. And we feel it days before. You have to take in account the houses where you have the last degrees of Taurus and Scorpio. This tension is a key. In first place, because we are not going to have an opposition between Venus in Scorpio and Uranus in Taurus until 2102, to be exact. So all the next oppositions are going to happen with Uranus in Gemini. And the other reason it is because this is a reactivation of what happened, what was initiated in the new moon of Scorpio the past November 21st. Therefore, here we have a cut that is not that surprising. It is a necessary liberation. For some people, this emerges from their own choice, and for others, life is bringing those situations. We are talking about revelations that come to light, whether they are internal or external, regarding relationships. Again, we talk about Venus, the value that we give to ourselves, the value that we give to external circumstances that break a perception or a dynamic that was generating stagnation, or where a situation was sustained that reached the end of its evolutionary possibilities. And as it is the last opposition and Venus is in Scorpio, this could be felt pretty intense. So the greater disposition that we have to open up to these higher purposes and to let go of control, which is a practice, greater contact with the power of our consciousness and what we require right now to transit this. In fact, the day after, on November 30th, Venus in Scorpio makes a trine with Neptune retrograde in Pisces, and this adds a lot. This helps a lot to cultivate acceptance, to not, give battle to what doesn't deserve our energy, and to allow intuition to help us to flow with those changes. And to also recognize that even if we are experimenting situations that at first perception we don't like, everything could approach us if we choose to change the perception to one that actually helps to growth, to the connection with ourselves and with the potentials that we came here to co-create. That same day, Venus moves out from Scorpio and enters Sagittarius until December 24th. And, from what we need to transmute, from what symbolically or literally has to die, we can open right now to those higher senses, each one respecting their own times and rhythms according to you are experimenting right now. You are going to give steps outside the underworld, the waters of the unconscious that Scorpio represents. And after the purification, the trip continues, the traveling continues. And we can look forward and to open to experiences of plenitude and expansion. Everything is temporary in here. So I'm going to close this video today. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.